we scored?
Yeah, we scored going to the playoffs.
I can't believe I missed that.
Every time I'm buzzed, I spend too much time on my phone. What? I should take your phone away. No. I'll call for a ride. Wait, why does my face look like that?
I'm playing with these new face filters.
Okay, you know what? Yep, that's mine. Kevin, I need that back. No. Kevin!
I'm Ryan Newman, and since I started with Indiana Donor Network and Driven to Save Lives, I found out that some people think that they can't be an organ donor. The truth is, anyone can sign up to be an organ donor.
Anyone?
Anyone?
Are you sure?
Yeah, I'm sure. Anyone can sign up to be an organ donor. So don't count yourself out because somebody's counting on you. Go to driventosavelives.org and sign up today.
But my heart's going to you, Ryan.
Love that shirt.
Welcome to the 34 Motorsports Product Showcase. We're proud to offer the full line of Simpson Racing safety products. The Shark Speedway is a perfect brain bucket to keep your melon as safe as possible. We carry every model and size of Hans device, and these have saved countless lives. The Hybrid Pro Lite is an alternative to the Hans device and is just as effective. The DNA 3-layer suit offers maximum protection when things get hot. And hey dude, those comfy shoes won't help one bit when things go south. Keep those hands ready to work with a pair of Vortex FIA gloves meeting every current standard. From 5 to 7 points, we carry every one of the Simpson harnesses, keeping your rear end right where it should be. Keep all your gear clean and together with the helmet and FHR bag, and always be ready to hop in a race car. Visit 34motorsports.com and order today.
Ever hear the one about the frog? Put a frog in a pot of boiling water and it'll jump right out. But put a frog in a pot of cool water and slowly heat it up, and that frog will boil. It's alive. But as a metaphor for us and all that we go through as veterans,
real-world experience.
it's a story that rings true. We make excuses for how we feel. We push everything down. We tell ourselves the lie that it's easier to stay in that boiling water, to disconnect. And some days, maybe, it is. But you've never been interested in easy. Reaching out is hard. Do it anyway. You're not alone. You've got this. You are not a frog.
Find resources at va.gov/reach.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to more iRacing action here on the National Racing Network. Is tonight the stars and cars of the Indy Pro 2000 Championship taking on Fuji Speedway, Oyama, Japan, 2.78 miles in length. My name is Chris Graham. It's a pleasure to have you hanging out with us. Joined in the booth tonight by James Watson and Patrick Byrne. This one should be a pretty good show here tonight. James, we'll come to you first. Our first visit here to the newly released Fuji Speedway. Some of the drivers love it, some of the drivers hate it, but man, is this place fast. Do we not have you here, James?
I'm still trying to get the feed.
Oh, there you go. All right. Well, we got you there, at least.
Now, there we go.
Okay, so looking at a place like Fuji that is going to be very quick, very exciting. Qualifications already getting underway here. This place is, quite frankly, has the potential to be wild. There are a lot of passing zones that are potential here. A couple of different chicanes, monstrous run down to turn number 1 with a almost 180 degree hairpin at the end of it.
Yeah, this place is gonna be really interesting. Like, they're gonna be so packed up together in this long-ass straight that I'm gonna be so fascinated to see how many of them actually survive in turn 1. And then a lot more braking zones at the other end of the track that have the potential to end very poorly. So yeah, this could either be a nice, clean, straightforward race or another disaster.
Yeah, and Patrick, this is where things maybe get a little bit interesting at times because we only have one split. There's not, multiple in the field and multiple splits. We've got our 20-ish car field here, and you're going to run what you run. Different names, different faces, potentially some different experience levels up towards the front of the field.
Yeah, I definitely see lap traffic becoming an issue with some of the less experienced guys, maybe not being used to running in the top split with the real fast guys, and maybe getting in the way and spicing things up a little bit.
Going to be interesting to watch, that's for sure. As heading into tonight's race, it is a 106-point lead for David Porcelli over Chris Preston. However, Porcelli has 4 weeks counted. Preston only has 3. Same goes for Nagisa Yoshikawa, Everett Paddock. So the SOF race tonight is going to be the only race that some of these drivers race this week. How does that change things, James, from the perspective of have you been putting in a lot of practice, or is this just one of those of, I don't like the new place, I don't want to run it?
Yeah, I don't know. I'm kind of surprised that we haven't been getting a whole lot this week. Like, this is an incredible track, and it's new, so you think people would have it. It's a shame, because I feel like this would have and this will put on a pretty good race. Oh well, we're just going to watch the people that did make it tonight show everyone what they're missing.
Yeah, that's one way of saying it. And actually, this week, Everett Paddock not on the entry list for tonight's race either. So, little bit interesting here. Paddock is going to fall back in the point standings, at least until we start kind of getting rid of the drop weeks. But David Porcelli going to be your quick timer to 136.48. Chris Preston entering the night second in points, currently second on the grid, just a tenth of a second back. Nicholas Daly, Richard Holt, Carl Lemkool, your top 5 here is just about everybody is working lap number 2. And I thank everybody tuned in on YouTube and on Twitch. Hopefully you're enjoying the show with us. Give us a shout in the comments. We'll get them up on the screen for you. Nice lap from Brian Labarge. He's going to move up to the 5th position. Labarge timing in 1 minute 37.182 seconds. Chris Preston just completing his lap. He goes quick time, 1 minute 36.185. Can David Porcelli take the top spot down to the line? No, he cannot, but only 0.03 of a second back. Nicholas Daly going to hold on to 3rd. Richard Holt going to hold on to 4th. Not many drivers left to get laps in here either. Kylo Ciacelli still on the racetrack, as is Benjamin Bachman. Joao Rafael Silva Lopez, currently 15th on the grid. He's about halfway through lap number 2. Greg Labourde finishing up his second lap. Amin Giundi has not taken a lap yet. Matteo Giuliano also out on the racetrack. Lap number 1 did not score for car number 19. Kylo Ciacelli, I would think, at least this is kind of my thought process. He's wanting to be a little bit further up there. We talked a little bit about the potential carnage that can come from turn number 1 here, James, and you really don't want to be anywhere near mid-pack.
No, like, I feel like we're going to have to get the air raid sirens going when we go into turn 1 on lap 1.
Yeah, this track is fantastic, and the reason it has such a long straightaway is it was originally going to be built as an oval. They had a deal with NASCAR set up in the 60s, Toyota did when they were building this track, and that fell through. I believe it was Bruce McLaren, or I think it was actually Sir Sterling Moss, that said, I don't think you're going to be able to build an oval in the mountains here. So they cut the track short and then cut the bank turn 1 out of it. They never got around the building turn 2. So now we just have this mile-long, huge front straightaway and a mountainous road course to go connect the 2 ends of the straightaway. It's one of my favorite tracks just because of that. And you can definitely get some carnage in turn 1 because of that.
That is hilarious. That is a story I have never heard. So let's take a look here at the starting grid as everybody is going to start to file in here. Chris Preston will be your pole sitter here this evening, and we'll get the graphics up on the screen for you. Preston by 36 thousandths over David Porcelli. Nicholas Daly, Carl Lemkool going to occupy row number 2, and there you see the gap already, 0.4 of a second back to Daly in third. Richard Holt, Kylo Ciacelli on row number 4. Brian Labarge and Russ Addy on the 4th row. Brian Karszewski, Joao Lopez on row number 5. Stephen Thompson, Mike Holler on row 6. Row 7 will have Benjamin Bachman and Kyle Mastronardi. Row number 8, Tyler Stover and Redneck Jesus. No, Shadow Jesus. Ben Carswell out of Virginia. You're not getting Dale Earnhardt Jr. in an Indy Pro race, but we got this next best thing. Ben Carswell lining up in position number 16. Greg Laborde, Matteo Giuliano on row number 9. And row 10, Brandon McKellop and Amin Jindi. 20 cars scheduled for tonight's race. This one going to be 19 laps in length. Felipe Gonzaga checking in the comments here. Field going to start pulling off and they'll get rolling. Comment up here. New commenters, we like to get them up on the screen here. Take a look. Field's going to work their way through that final sector. And we are going to be ready to go green flag racing here very, very shortly. Do we see the we'll say F3 carnage when we get to turn number 1 here, just given the lack of experience that we have in the field, James?
This series and these drivers are normally a lot cleaner. I'm gonna give them the benefit of the doubt, but yeah, I'm wrong usually multiple times per broadcast, so this is gonna be the first one of the night.
I'm willing to bet money on a little bit of carnage.
Well, we're going to find out here real shortly. Field making their way down the front straightaway. Green flags in the air. We are underway. Very slow bring down from David Porcelli. And man, Porcelli did not get a good start. It's going to be Chris Preston leading into turn number 1. Porcelli and Lemkool going to be side by side. thus far. Looks like everybody clean to this point in the lap. Kylo Ciacelli battling with Nicholas Daly. Richard Holt going to be right there behind him as well. One car going off track. Benjamin Bachman going to have an issue. Brian Karszewski going off the racetrack. Take a look here, see if we can see what happened to Bachman on the Hot Shoe Racewear instant replay. Lock up, slide it way wide. And you got to take the runoff.
That runoff is incredibly difficult to try and go through, and you still get the slowdown regardless, so you almost have to come to a complete stop after you complete it, which I believe is the FIA rule anyway. So
David Porcelli around Preston to turn number 1. Top 2 checking out, no real surprise there. How about the nice run for Carl Lemke? He's up 1 spot, currently running in the 4th position. Slide back in the field a little bit here. Matteo Giuliano, Kyle Mastronardi battling, and that's a hornet's nest. Pick up Ben Carswell in the 18.
Oh, someone's off. Whoa.
Oh, man, looked like... No, was that... one of the team cars to Preston and Ciacelli here. How about the artwork on Ben Carswell's machine? Whoa!
Whoa.
The 17 of Kyle Mastronardi. Good Lord. Obviously not happy with somebody trying to run him off the road. Good Lord. Let's take a look here and see what happened. Mastronardi wow, he missed the braking zone by a half mile.
Yeah, and he threw it on the AstroTurf to avoid killing whoever. Was that Ben in front of him?
That was Ben, just in front of him, yeah.
Oh, yeah, that would not have been great.
Back to the race lead as they fight to turn number 1. Preston going to try it on the outside. Porcelli able to defend the position. Three wide down towards turn number 1. Matteo Giuliano on the inside. Tyler Stover, Greg Laborde. Well, Giuliano having some connection issues as well there. So that's exactly what you want to see. Guy's going to stuff it in 3 wide and then he just disappears. Pick up Mike Holler and Russ Addy. This is going to be the battle for position number 7. I'll tell you what, the fight for the lead is still a good one here, too. Porcelli and Preston battling.
Yeah, this is great. They're battling for the lead while pulling away from the downforce boys behind them.
Trouble on the racetrack for Greg Laborde. We'll get to him in just a moment here. I don't think Chris Preston's going to be close enough. Oh man, we got multiple issues now towards the back of the field here. Pick up Greg Laborde, see what the issue was here for car number 12. Oh, just a little bit too much on exit. Brings it to a stop. I don't think he hit anything though.
Yeah, he kept it out of the wall.
Nice save,
That's
Greg
all you can ask
Laborde.
for.
Kyle Mastronardi, well, maybe not. Let's see.
That move was never going to work.
And then there's Brian Labarge getting into it as well. Mastronardi, unfortunately, has to take the toe to the pits.
Yeah, that move is never going to work. You can't really send it up there because it's one of those kind of increasing radius apex corners. So there's always going to be a gap that seems there but isn't there. Yeah, stuff like that happens a lot. One of those vortex of danger things we see now and again.
Well, and Patrick, when you have a new racetrack on the server or on the system, and then maybe you haven't turned a ton of laps, you're running with some unfamiliar people, it's almost like you have to be even more careful of that vortex of danger in a situation like you have tonight than just kind of running a generic hosted lobby or something like that.
You know, I almost agree with you. However, I don't think anyone has an excuse tonight. This track was featured on almost every iteration of Gran Turismo. And if any of these guys haven't played Gran Turismo, then shame on them.
Does it count if you played Gran Turismo? The last one I played was, I think, Gran Turismo 2.
Actually, I don't think this track was on that one. I think it first came out on GT3. So.
4.
Really?
Yes, it was not on 3.
What?
Right? Yeah, first time I ever heard about this track was playing GT5 when I was 8 years old. That doesn't make you feel old. I'm 25. I still wish we had the old version, though, where you just had a whole lot of narrow, sweeping corners.
So, the old version of this track, that final section after that chicane, this section right here, instead of going through this sharp 90-degree right-hander, it swung out into like a big 180-degree corner back to the front straightaway. It was fantastic. It was a big oval corner. And then they added a chicane to it because it was a little too fast. And the chicane wasn't even that bad. But in 2005, they redid this whole section to slow everyone down. And unfortunately, it kind of breaks the rhythm of the track a little bit.
Yeah, I do not like this last section. It just kills what otherwise is a pretty nice flowing track.
We'll ask Ben Carswell his opinion of it. Battle for the race lead heating up here. Porcelli and Preston back to turn number 1. No dice, nothing got to happen there. We're going to have a battle here, though. Nicholas Daly coming around Carl Lemkool. Nice pass there to the inside by Daly. Put him back up to position number 3. So, guys, the big news that came out, I guess last week, maybe 10 days ago, Indy Pro 2000 and USF 2000 are going to be sort of packaged together from a scheduling standpoint. They're going to start running on alternate hours instead of each series running every hour. And they're going to run a matching schedule to try to promote participation in both series. Sort of, to me, seems like a bit of a stretch from the dev team at iRacing. I guess one is a Class D car, one would be a Class C, correct?
That is correct.
USF 2000 is going to be a fixed series. Indy Pro will be open sets. I don't know. James, let me get your opinion on it first. Do we think this has any effect on participation?
I think that it will help participation. I like the change. The only thing that I have a problem with is that it takes it from 3 ovals a season down to 2. And that, to me, is the biggest travesty, because we all know how amazing this car is on ovals, and I guess it's just more the reason to run Shock. Tuesday nights, 9 o'clock, starting in November.
Yeah, that one I'm not a fan of. Patrick, go ahead. Let's hear your thoughts on it.
I am in the minority here, but I like the USF 2000 a lot more than the PM18, especially with it being fixed setup. It's kind of just a arrive and drive. It's an open differential, so the car slides around a little bit more. It's a much more fun, nimble car to drive, but being D-Class, maybe guys who move up to C-Class and already have the full schedule for the USF, all they have to do is buy that PM18 and they can run that C-Class series. They don't have to do anything crazy, don't have to buy a whole new subset of tracks, just it's the same stuff you've been running. It's a very similar car, it's the same chassis, it's just different wings and a less detuned engine. And you can go out there and have a good time.
Oh, trouble for Kylo Ciacelli.
Ciacelli.
Wow, nice save, Kylo, keeping it off the wall, but unfortunately that's going to give up the battle for the 5th position. More trouble towards the back of the pack. Greg Laborde, Brian Labarge. Well, maybe a little argy-bargy going on here again between these two. See what happened. Big dive up the inside. That was never going to work. I'll tell you what, nice job by Greg Laborde to keep the thing on the straight and narrow there, though. Just back behind Russ Addy, Mike Holler. Addy down to the inside. Wow, nice pass. Again, nice pass at turn 1. I love the flow of that corner. It's a sharp corner. It's a great braking zone. Opens up the opportunities for the pass. But the way the corner kind of dives away, it makes it a hair safer, it feels like, to try to attempt that dive bomb.
Yeah, and there is plenty of runoff where if you're going to miss the dive bomb, you can kind of swing the car all the way to the left, run it into the runoff before you hit the other car. Or if the other car sees you in their mirror, they can do the same thing, and both cars will be able to continue the race just fine.
Three-way battle here. Brian Karszewski, Matteo Giuliano, Tyler Stover battling. This is 13th, 14th, and 15th. The battle for the race lead has definitely settled down, sitting right about 0.6 of a second. Well, let's maybe not. Let's see. Chris Preston's going to have the draft, but he's still only going to be down to about 1/4 of a second behind as they get to turn 1. I will always argue that serpentine maneuver shouldn't be allowed in the real world, and you shouldn't be doing it on iRacing.
When it comes to that, I like to gravitate towards the rule that F1 has, where you can only make one blocking maneuver per straightaway. I think that would really shake things up if you were allowed to do that.
Mika Margo saying we will need 2 seasons of shock now. I agree with that. Matt Wagner says dive bombing nerds.
I agree with that.
Approaching the halfway point here, David Porcelli, Chris Preston have a 5.7 second lead over Nicholas Daly in 3rd. This is about the closest that Preston's been. Oh, and a little bit of a wide run there for Porcelli. Or a very shallow run for Preston, depending on which way you want to look at it. But it's interesting to see how these guys are trying to make time around here. Ciacelli kind of wanting to take the slow in, fast out. Porcelli maybe going a little bit the other direction. Here comes Porcelli at the line. It will be Chris Preston. He's going to lead the lap with 10 to go. Now the question becomes, can he hold him off? Yeah.
I was going to say, that final corner there, you just saw it right there. You do not want to sacrifice the exit. That front straightaway, you want as much as you can get down that straightaway. That straightaway alone is 1/3 of this track, lengthwise. It's immense. It's most of your lap time is made up or lost in that final corner and how you exit it. So, unfortunately, worked out to Kyle Ciacelli's advantage. And
well, Chris Preston, but yes.
Yeah, Chris Preston, yes. And let's see if we can get it back. I'm sorry, I don't follow this series very closely. I see cars with certain colors and go, oh, that's that guy.
Yes, the team cars. Imagine a couple of seasons ago when we had Geodesic and I forget which the other team was, that were running almost identical paint schemes. So the top 6 cars were almost identically painted.
I remember that. The last time we were down in Bradenton, I hopped on one of these broadcasts with you and couldn't figure out who was who.
Yeah.
It might have been the cheap liquor from Meyer, though, that did that. I'm not sure.
Well, that's your own fault.
This is, by the way, the tightest fight on the racetrack right now. Amin Giundi, Greg Laborde sitting about a third of a second apart from each other as well. Stephen C. Thompson about a half second back of Mike Holler. But we're going to stay here with a fight for the race lead.
See, that's snaking down the front straightaway. I don't mind it as the following car because typically it's faster just to hold your line.
That's what I would think. Like, I get you want to try to break the draft, but you're giving up time anyway. You're making it longer. By the way, Patrick, we have you're getting called out here. Matt Wagner checking in the comments. I have off all week next week. How about that 1v1?
He's hiding from you. He's scared.
Well, Chris, what are we going to be doing next week that will prevent me from doing that 1v1 on next week?
Well, you've got all day Monday and Tuesday if you really want to try to wimp out of it. But, yes, we will be down in Bradenton, Florida on assignment, handling some production duties for the Danger Ranger 9000. Find that one at CletusMcFarland.com. I think they've opened up the entry list to either 50 or 65 Ford Rangers. And
that's going to be more Ford Rangers than you see on I-95 in Washington, D.C. on a Tuesday afternoon.
And there will be spectator drags.
Those are going to be fantastic. And see, Chris Preston went for the weave, and it's going to cost him here. He's going to have to sacrifice his entry in the turn 1, and I think it's going to hurt him a little bit.
Oh, Porcelli slides it off the racetrack just a little bit.
He's going to have the preferred entry into the next corner, though.
Wow, that was
backs out of
tight.
it.
Just past the halfway point. This is a fun battle for the race lead. Seeing an incident on the racetrack, Brian Labarge having another issue here. He is back in the 18th position. Let's check in on the other fight that we have on the racetrack here. Russ Addy is about 3/4 seconds ahead of Mike Holler. Stephen C. Thompson is catching up. This one could turn into a little bit of a battle. Then the only other one going to be back here towards the back. Greg Laborde, Matteo Giuliano, Amin Giundi. They're fighting for 16th, 17th, and 18th, but we got a great battle here for the race lead. Several drivers I'm kind of surprised that we don't see here tonight. Nagisa Yoshikawa is not here. Everett Paddock is not here. Dylan Vilashinsky is not here. There's a handful of drivers that we might have expected to see here, James, that we don't. I get you may not like the track, you may not want to buy it, but man, that's seems like this is a big throwaway week for a lot of people.
Yeah, like, I know Yoshikawa was having, but like, it's weird seeing no Everett. We still haven't really seen a geodesic car this season, I don't believe. Still no Teddy B, although he has real life racing jobs and stuff that gets him out of it. But yeah, it's just weird, you know?
Preston continues to hold off Porcelli. Porcelli, I would imagine, probably getting a little bit frustrated back there now, and in much the same way that Chris Preston was earlier. this is kind of one of those deals of when you're in the lead, it is a distinct advantage so long as you don't screw up that final corner.
Yeah, but I don't know. With how long the straightaway is, I still don't necessarily know if being the lead car is that much advantage coming to the line. I still feel like you might be a bit of a sitting duck.
Well, Porcelli's going to have the advantage to turn one. Oh, man, tries to squeeze Preston, but he's not going to be able to do it. Both cars getting the wiggle out of one. Big dive by Porcelli. That time, that's going to put him back to the race lead. 1 and 2 in iRating are back to 1 and 2 on the racetrack. You almost wonder here, though, if you're Chris Preston, do you want to be in second, Patrick? I mean, obviously, you know you can get to the start-finish line first with a pass out of the final corner. Do you feel like a sitting duck if you're the leader?
Yes and no. Yeah, because he's going to have that huge draft coming out of the final corner, but no, because as the leader, you are in control. And as much as people don't like to do it, you can always block. As long as you're not blocking and chopping that front wing off the car and kind of just moving in front of him right as he's moving out, you should be all right. Kind of just like that.
Wow, big dive by Preston. And he's going to be able to clear by the time they get out of turn number 2. That was big, but Porcelli going to try the crossover. Preston has to run a little bit wide. Compromises 3, but man, what a great line through 4. And obviously, everybody knows that last corner is where you're expecting the move. I would imagine here, James, with a handful of laps to go, maybe this is when you start trying to stick your nose some places and go, hey, can I make the entry to the second chicane work? Can I make the exit of turn 3 work?
Yeah, I'd say that's a good strategy. I'm just in awe of the fact that these two are just throwing absolute haymakers on each other, corner after corner, and they're still pulling a gap from second and third. This is just enthralling. Anxiety feeling, but enthralling.
Trouble on the racetrack for Matteo Giuliano. We'll see if we can get it up here before the end of this race, but there's that draft off the final corner. At the line, it is Preston by not much. Little bit surprising there that Porcelli wasn't able to at least get the nose of the car ahead. Possibly speaking a little bit, James, to running maybe a little bit more downforce in the 1 versus the 2.
Yeah, I'm very curious to see if there is. I don't think there's going to be any real difference in between what they're running. I mean, they're pretty much on the same setup. I really just think it's kind of luck of the draw and how you get out of the final corner.
Well, I guess we're going to find out who Quick Draw McGraw is. Let's take a look real quickly here at the instant replay. Matteo Giuliano getting the car spun around. And looks like there may have been some damage, yeah, because he pulled it off, got it off into the grass. And that's where his race would end. He has to take the tow back into the pit area. You can see the damage on the left front tire. You don't want it cambered that far.
No, you look like one of those Stancy boys that were down in Gatlinburg last weekend.
Those cars are dumb. Like, I get, like, I'm old, so, like, the younger generations have their car culture. That's what I don't get. It actually hurts the car.
It looks cool as a show car, but we've got to pass for the lead.
Well, a maybe pass for the lead. Porcelli trying the outside. Maybe. Preston's going to drive it in deep. I'll tell you what, these guys are not giving a lick at this point. Porcelli really had to shove off wide. Down to 3 laps to go. I hate to look away from this battle as Porcelli comes through. He's going to get the pass made in a spot that we haven't really seen a pass attempted all night. You almost wonder if that's not going to be really ideal because Preston is now going to have the big run. Porcelli covers off the inside. Down the home stretch, Preston is not, well, maybe. He might be close enough to try to swing out. Can he get him at the line? That's the big question. Yes, he can. Chris Preston timed that absolutely perfect. The rest of the corners and the lap sort of doesn't matter when you get to the white flag. Preston overshoots the corner. Porcelli back through to the race lead. But Patrick, if you're making that pass on the white flag lap, it doesn't matter if you get them before turn 1. It matters if you get them before the line.
Yes, so you don't even have to think about turn 1. You can absolutely blow it once you've got the checkered flag in your hand. My foot is going to stay to the floor. If we make contact, we make contact. I want that checkered flag.
I mean, I would prefer if these two not make any contact, but I don't know. That's probably just me.
And yes, it is only you. By the way, taking a look at the Division II point standings, Brian Labarge holding I'll call it 20-point advantage over Stephen C. Thompson, 18 specifically. Richard Holt, Carl Lemkool, Russ Addy, the top 5. And sliding back to Division 3. That one's going to be Dylan Vilashinsky over Brian Karszewski and Greg Laborde. Jason Owens sitting 5th in the point standings, just behind Joao Rafael Silva Lopez. And let's do this. We're coming to the white flag lap here, but let's give a shout out to Ben Carswell. Show him here, get him a very quick look at the race car. We're going right back to the race leaders. Porcelli down to the inside. He's going to get the pass completed. Ben Carswell is 15th in overall point standings for the Indy Pro 2000 Championship, running out of Division 5. Well done, Mr. Carswell. Michael Long is 17th in points out of Division 4. Nick Camargo, 24th in overall points out of Division 4. Well done early on here, gents. But now we're down to the final lap. A little bit of a bobble from Preston. That may be all it takes.
Oh, that may be it.
Unless he's going to get the big draft. That's the only thing.
He's going to need the third sector of his life. Ooh,
oh, yeah, well, yeah, he gained about 4/10 there. And remember, this is about how far back he was when he got the draft and passed at the line a lap or two ago. You need to be in range to get the toe. It may not be enough, though. sitting at
I
about
think he's
7/10
a
of
little
a
too far back.
second. Checkered flag going to fly. No moss
He's
for
gotta
Chris
run,
Preston.
but
David
not gonna be
Porcelli
enough.
gets the win at Fuji. Great run for Chris Preston. He's going to come home second. Third tonight belongs to Nicholas Daly. I'll tell you what, for a guy like Ben Carswell, tonight is a huge points night. Coming home 12th, but in an SOF race with one of the highest, point tallies of the week. That's big for some of these guys that are a little bit deeper in the overall standings. But here is your race winner, David Porcelli. Team Watson Racing going back to victory lane here in the Indy Pro 2000 Championship. As we get ready for the victory lane interviews here, Patrick, will come to you first. All in all, not a terrible race here. A lot of action at the front, some great battles throughout the field. And ultimately, the guy who was quickest for the majority of the race comes home in victory lane.
Yeah, I mean, it's a road course race. The guy who's fastest is usually going to win as long as he doesn't do anything stupid. And he kept a level ahead and forced Chris Preston to make an error and ended up getting the checkered flag.
Yeah, that was the big one. And James, obviously you're thrilled. It's a Team Watson Racing 1-2. Ultimately, may not have a huge impact on the championship, other than the fact now that Chris Preston is bringing home second place points and what probably is going to be one of his only starts of the week.
Yeah, from a team-wise perspective, this was absolutely incredible. Well, awesome to watch. I love to watch them, fight hard, fight clean, and ultimately take care of business.
Well, let's kick off our victory lane interviews with our third place finisher here tonight, Mr. Nicholas Daly. A very solid run. We'll call it best in class to come home third tonight. Good early battle with Carl Lemkool there, Nicholas. Congratulations on the podium finish here, and talk us through the night from your perspective.
Yeah, thank you. Glad to be back up here in the booth and on the podium. Lap one was kind of challenging. Didn't get quite the best to start because I was trying to defend, and then I had Kylo right behind. So pretty much all of lap one was just trying to keep Kylo behind me. And then Carl and I were able to work together a little bit with the draft and pull out a little bit of a gap. So after that, it was kind of an easy race, just trying to not make mistakes because it's so slippery out there on this track. To lose the rear end is really easy. But glad I could be best of the rest.
Well, I'll tell you what, it was a very nice drive for you tonight. Congratulations on picking up a podium finish here. And before we let you go, get all those sponsor plugs and thank yous in.
Yeah, thank you guys in the TNT broadcast series and Team Downforce Racing for the setup work that we do and practice. So, yep, thanks.
All right, bud. Well, thank you very much. We appreciate you checking in with us here. And now let's bring in the guy who was a runner-up finisher here this evening, ultimately just a tick behind your race winner, David Porcelli. That's going to be Chris Preston. Nice drive here. It was a great battle throughout the race with David. It wasn't necessarily a bobble on the last lap. This really was a race that you could have flipped a coin and either one of you would have won it.
Yeah, it was a really good race. David and I were just talking there in the waiting for interview room about how great Fuji is and how we can't believe that more people don't race this track because they're definitely missing out. It's fantastic. Unfortunately, I think my setup was a little too tough on tires, both in the 815 and in this race. The last few laps, I just didn't have that extra tenth. So I tried to hold back a little in this race to try to conserve tires, and I was definitely closer at the end than I was at 815. But yeah, a bit of a bobble on the last lap. Heated up the tires, trying to stay ahead of him, and that was kind of all she wrote. But David was super quick, so.
Well, yeah, it was a good drive for you tonight, and ultimately it's these tiny little adjustments, and that's really what's going to determine a championship here. Starting to turn into a little bit of a two-horse race. Obviously, with Nagisa Everett not running tonight, we're already into mentally calculating drop weeks. How do you approach the rest of the season? It's not necessarily the easiest of schedules coming up here. Homestead, Miami, going to a Roval with a crazy turn 3 and 4. Road Atlanta, the Oval at Motegi. There's some places that were traditionally quick, and then there's some places, nice oppo lock there on the slow-mo, by the way. There's some places that are familiar. There's some places that are new. It kind of feels like this could be anybody's race.
Yeah, absolutely. There's a couple tracks coming up that I've never done, which is Homestead and then that configuration of Twin Ring. So I told you a few weeks ago that it had been, I think, 8 years since I'd raced Twin Ring. I looked it up. It's actually been 10. It was exactly when it came out, and I did one race in the Indy car. So that's my Twin Ring experience, and should be interesting. The other thing with these drop weeks, I mean, I know with this being a single split, the points aren't huge, but we've also got to consider that, or be realistic, that Homestead and Twin Ring might not split either. So eventually you're going to run out of these types of drop weeks, and you just got to fight for all the points available. Ovals don't typically present the same amount of points as road courses, just due to, most of us don't have a 5K oval high rating. So, yeah, it'll be a really close end of the season.
Yeah, that's going to be interesting to watch, is how the participation numbers look over the rest of the season as well. But thank you very much for checking in with us here, Chris. We appreciate you spending some time. And before we let you go, get all the plugs and thank yous taken care of.
Of course, I got to thank Team Watson Racing and, of course, my teammate David there for that excellent race. That was a ton of fun. Limo Boys Racing, I got to give Kylo a huge shout out on his win last week. That was amazing to watch. And our other teammate, Kyle Masternardi, even made it into the race tonight. So we had lots of representation there. And, of course, got to thank our sponsor, DeChaco Farms. And you guys for the fantastic broadcast, as always.
All right, bud. Well, thank you much. We appreciate you checking in with us here. And now it's time to talk to our race winner here this evening, guy who was very good, leading a total of 12 of the 19 laps run. Chris Preston leading the other 7. But great duel. Ultimately, the faster car coming out on top. Congratulations, David. That was a heck of a performance.
Thanks so much. What a race. I hope that was a good show for you guys, because it's probably one of the best races I've had in this car in a long time. So hats off to Chris for keeping it nice and clean and keeping me honest that entire way. Yeah, I was just shouting on the stream once I realized I had secured the win. So exciting.
That's one of the interesting ones for me, is you kind of had the feeling when you saw the little bit of bobble, I would imagine, in your rearview mirror, at least you saw the relatives start to open up. How does that not catch you out a little bit and force you into your own mistake? You really have to stay centered in your own run there over the course of the last kind of sector or so.
Yeah, you're absolutely right, because the last thing you need to do is get complacent, give up a half a second, and now he has the draft heading down to start-finish, especially considering the fact he had a little bit less downforce than me. He would get a major run. But I knew I had him in that last sector. I've been practicing all week. I'm really confident in the set I was running this week. I knew I was faster at the end of the race, and it was just a matter of hitting my marks and bringing it home. So once I saw him hit that curb and get loose, it was really just a matter of not getting complacent. I didn't have to push. It was just like, don't relax. You don't have to do anything crazy. Hit your marks, bring the car home, and let's secure this win. So yeah, trying to string it together this season.
Well, looking at the numbers here, you've counted 4 weeks, 8 starts, 4 wins, 6 top 5s, what is now a 104-point lead over Chris. how do you approach the rest of the season? We talked to Chris a little bit about some of the unknown venues, or at least lesser known venues that are going to be coming up. Do you have to kind of gear some of your prep towards them, or do you concentrate more on the places you know you can be quick?
No, yeah, you definitely have to focus on the unknowns because there's always an opportunity there. If you can figure something out that the other guys haven't, the tracks we've been running at a long time, I would say that the top 5 competitors already have a solid baseline heading into the week, and it's just a matter of final tweaks for the weather. When we head into a new track like Fuji or let me pull up the schedule a second.
Next week we go to Homestead. Road Course A.
Yeah, so we got Homestead, we've got Twin Rig Motegi, and we're running both the oval and some of the road course this year. And we have Daytona Road Course. Like, we haven't run those tracks for a couple of seasons now. So I think there's going to be a lot of opportunity for me to find some secret sauce on those weeks. Whereas I expect hard and clean battling at the tracks we're used to, like Road Atlanta, Iowa, and Canadian Tire Motorsports Park.
All right, bud. Well, congratulations on a big-time win tonight here. We're glad we got a chance to talk to you. And before we let you go, get all those sponsor plugs and thank yous in.
Yeah, absolutely. First shout-out goes to Lawrence. I hope you're watching, man. I won tonight because this track is important to us, so there you go, buddy. Shout out to Satellite Racing, Team Watson Racing, Racecraft 1 Indianapolis. Hi to the family. Hi, Brianna. I love you. And that's it. Thanks, everyone, for an amazing broadcast every week. And I hope to see you in the booth next week.
All right, buddy. Well, we appreciate it. And, man, that one was fun. It at least at the very front, Patrick, that lived up to every expectation we had going into this.
Yeah, with the low participation all week, kind of expecting just a single file parade, not a good time. But in the AI racing I've done here, first thing I did once I bought this track was load up the PM18s here because they're small, nimble, and this is a huge track. And you can get some really, really fantastic racing, and there's a ton of room you can make a small error, and it's not going to spin you into the grass or ruin your night. You have room to push and run off a little bit and come back, and we saw David Bercelli, in turn 1, go off 5-6 times trying to pass for the lead, and he still ended up winning the race. So this track allows you to give 110%.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. And now next week, James, you're going to be in the booth with Gary Godso. I don't even know what to make of Homestead Road Course A other than the banking in 3 and 4 or 1 and 2, whichever end they're using, is going to be absolutely ridiculous to see these cars on because you're probably going to top out or very close to top out the transmission in them. Next week has the potential to be absolutely wild.
Yes, and with turn 1 being very, 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 very narrow and hard to spot, yeah, it's going to be chaos. I'm here for it.
Carnage. Abject, absolute carnage, and we're here for every bit of it. Well, with that, though, it's time for us to get the heck on out of here. Patrick and I will be on assignment next week down in Bradenton, Florida. Check out CletusMcFarland.com. Pick up the pay-per-view of the Danger Ranger 9000. Yes, it is going to be thrilling. Looking forward to that one in a big way. Thank you very much to Gary Godso and the whole team at Raceverse for stepping in for us for a week or so. Looking forward to hearing Gary call one of these races. A little bit different from our style, and I'm sure James will manage to corrupt them over the course of a week or so. But with that, we are getting the heck on out of here. This one's been fun. We will see you all next week. Wednesday night, the Sim Racers Club. Thursday night, Ezra and Indy Pro 2000. Patrick and I will be back, 2 weeks, whatever, from Wednesday. But with that, we're out of here. We will talk to you all later. For Patrick, James, everybody here at the National Racing Network that makes these shows happen, my name is Chris Graham. Thank you so much for hanging out with us. We will talk to you all soon. Have a good night, everybody.